Just a second. Are we live? Let me check once. Yeah, all good to go. Okay, so we are live, everybody. Um, Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Sales and Onboarding series by RevRag. I'm Arushi. I'm the founder's office here and your host for today's episode. Now, we've spoken about trust in rural lending. We've spoken about AI in collections and even data layered decisions in onboarding. But today we are zooming into something very unique. What does it take to design digital customer journeys that don't just work, but think? So, for that, somebody who's lived that question across fintech and BFSI is joining us. I'd like to welcome Pramod Mohandas. He's the product head at Kissht, where he leads the entire digital customer journey for personal loans. So, from a moment the user lands up till dispersal and all the post loan experiences. He's worked across startups and multiple MNCs and has spent the last 12 years building scalable, customer first digital product systems. Welcome, Pramod. Super glad to have you with us today.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to be here. And hi, Neeraj. Glad you could join.
Yeah, bro.
And we have with us Neeraj Gupta. He is the co founder and CPO at RevRag. RevRag recently ran a successful POC with Kish, about which we'll be talking further. So, what it was about is embedding AI agents into the personal loan onboarding. Neeraj brings product depth and execution clarity to some of BFSI's most complex funnels. So, in a gist, what we'll be talking about today is the digital onboarding journey from A to Z. So, I would want to start with you, Pramod. Just want to understand a bit about you. Um, you've built journeys that stretch from onboarding to dispersal and beyond. Uh, where do you start while designing these experiences? Can you just guide us through the journey a bit?
Wow. Um, the moment you ask me this question, right, there is a flurry of memories that comes through, experiences that come through. But if I had to categorize and draft it into something simple, let me give it a shot. So, in my experience in India, typically, uh, before
Mhm.
any journey starts, before even the app, and I'll try to contextualize this specifically to say unsecured loans, something that we do. Even before the app experience, there is either somebody's referral to you saying this is the app you need to go to, or maybe there's an ad or a reel that you saw on Instagram, or there is a WhatsApp forward, or you saw something on Facebook. So by the time the user lands or installs the app, they are already half curious. And because it's a personal loan which involves finances, they are even half skeptical. And that's why somehow we haven't always started thinking about uh, just the journeys or the design. We have tried to think about what is the story in the head of the user. So instead of the UI, we have tried to address the user's unspoken anxiety. So imagine this, there is a borrower who needs something starting at 25-30K over the next 6-7 months. And it may be for their daughter's school fees, it could be emergency bills, hospital expenses, or they're running a very small shop which they need to keep afloat or just to buy some goods for it. So, for a lot of these users, this is not a discretionary spend, it's a bridge. So, before even we design a screen, we try to ask ourselves what does this 30, 40, 50,000 mean to this person? And what do they fear that could go wrong? A common mistake that can happen here with a typical product design journey is that you could just jump to a design sprint, but the user is still stuck in their trust sprint. So the moment someone lands on the app, we feel that they are thinking, will I get judged? Will my data be misused? Will this go to a very dirty collection setup where I will be socially outcast, even if I blink wrong? And that's where, when we design these journeys with the users, we start with trust checkpoints. So we ask ourselves, is the user feeling safe before they start giving you anything on the app? uh, is there an overload of information which may overwhelm the user with so many options that they would just cease to understand what is being offered? Is there a place in the journey where there could be a spike in frustration because there are too many things asked from the user, and their confidence eventually just dies down? So when we build journeys, we try to track these silent signals and not just click throughs to the next screen. We remember that in this segment, the real funnel actually will not be just the app, it will be the user's mindset. So we won't be just converting any traffic, we are actually here converting a doubt in someone's mind into belief.
I can really see the clarity, the way you expressed uh, the starting of a journey, right? I mean, usually when we ask somebody that question, it starts with, how the product should be and everything. But you started with the customer's mindset. I mean, you really went down to the basics and depth. And I mean, it just shows how a product leader clearly, um, has a clarity of thought while designing these journeys. So just to kind of follow up on that, I just want to understand, are there any things which people often miss while designing these journeys? Something that is not visible, like you just mentioned, right? There are these small nuances which matter a lot. Can
Mhm.
you think of certain things which kind of make or break the whole experience for customers?
Most of the product journeys that we've seen are about getting to a yes from the user. Yes, adding
Right.
something to the cart, Amazon. Yes, signing up on a new portal. Yes, I'm booking something like a flight ticket. But for lending, it is slightly different. Here, it is about getting to, I am sure that I need this. So dashboards typically end up telling us that where the users are dropping off, something that everyone sees. Uh, but they don't typically tell you where the user stopped believing in the workflow or the app. So one of the biggest blind spots that we see in lending journeys is when the user mentally checks out, but the screen, the dashboard, and the app doesn't even know it yet. And I'm just segueing from the mindset point that I made. It continues even into the journey. So now sticking with the borrower who just wanted say 25K or 30K, it might be a language mismatch. They are unable to understand the language, unclear about the TNCs, about loan. So one things that teams usually miss out here is, especially in lending, is that it is not just a transactional behavior or an interaction with the user. It is a very emotional and reputational interaction. Why is it reputational? Because somebody who is borrowing say a 1 lakh over 12 month will start thinking, uh, the stakes are different here. Will this loan impact my bureau score? Reputation. Will someone call my employer to verify and they know my secret that I am borrowing? Reputation. Do I really need to upload 6 months of salary here? uh, Trust. And these are the points where users usually drop off, not because the UX has a problem or we develop some really beautiful easy to use interfaces, but because there is a trust gap, and our UX or UIs are typically not designed to catch that. And here's the tricky part also: they will not exit very loudly. They will pause. So imagine a user, they'll be on the app, they will pause, they'll read, do I really upload my 6 monthly salary sheet here? They will pause, then say later karte hai, just tab out or go to WhatsApp. uh, or they'll look up your app over internet saying, is my app safe? The funnel will say idle or timeout. Okay,
Yeah.
but that is not really what has happened. Somebody may try and go and fix that flaw in the design. Let's make the UX easier, let's reduce the clicks, etc. But actually the user has emotionally opted out. The platform did not notice. These are something that are called micro abandonments, and apparently micro abandonments end up killing way more conversions, uh, as they say, than any button color ever fixed. So I feel that it's about understanding the trust gap, and not just focusing on the UX, UI, and simplicity there.
Hmm. You said this like these micro understanding points are which kind of make or break the journey. Now, I think we have like some questions related to that specifically that I'm going to ask in the upcoming sections. But right now, because we are talking more about the funnel, um, just one point that I want to ask: if you had to distill between a good funnel and a good journey, what would it be in brief?
Back in the day when I used to work in B2B, B2B
Yeah.
is a retention game. Someone used to tell us that a good funnel will get the user to the finishing line. A good journey makes sure that they want to come back for another lap. Uh, I think that has always stuck with me. Uh, so funnels typically are obsessed with conversions, and hence I always urge the teams that I work with to think about journeys, because journeys care about the confidence of the user. They care about how the user feels. Funnels will typically ask, did the user complete something, onboarding step, milestone, etc. Journeys ask, did they feel it in control while doing it? Did they trust us more? Will they come back again? Will they use us for something now we call as cross sell or upsell? Will they
Mm-hmm.
come back on the platform? So in lending, contextually this could mean that uh, they found great ease and trust while onboarding as a loan taking user. Will they come back for easy repayments on time, before time? Is that journey uh, trustworthy, easy, simple to use, etc.? So in lending, typically a funnel would say that the user, typical funnel that people track would say the user submitted the KYC documents. uh, the journey will ask, but did we tell them what happens next? Did we set the expectations clearly on why these documents are needed? So did they feel like we are the borrower, or who are looking at a risk from a PDF, or did they feel like we are a borrower who is asking them only specific information so that we can cater the best product for them? Uh, a lot of global players have tried doing it, where they don't truly just chase a dispersal or an outcome. I have seen workflows for apps like Sophie, Upstart. So we try to learn from these global players as well. Uh, and yes, there are apps where they have not looked at funnels just as a transactional interface. They have looked at journeys as a conversation. Cred also does that pretty well in India. They have journeys which are very conversational in nature. So one typical journey
So,
will end at conversion, saying, "Hey, easy, easy steps, transaction complete." Other where there is a conversation that the user was really intrigued, interested in having more of it, you will see the person coming back. So funnel metrics, which look great, uh, but the rate could suffer. But if you have built a very strong journey, you will find that that is where the user will keep coming back to your app to continue doing the things that you want them to do. Repeat rate is just one such example.
so you're saying that it needs to be more than just lending. It needs to be a very wholesome experience. What can you tell us some nuances that you noticed on those platforms that you just mentioned from compared to normal platform? Something that kind of makes the product very sticky and feels more whole.
In lending, I'm reiterating this, trust is quite important. And in one thing that helps build trust is to explain, largely in a very subtle manner, explain them the why. It could be as simple as upload your 6 monthly bank statement, versus a simple label that says upload your 6 monthly bank statement to help us curate the best possible offer for you. It is very
Hmm.
subtle, and yet there is an element of telling the user why, and the why steadily builds trust.
Makes sense. Makes sense. It's in the smaller parts that actually have a greater impact.
Yeah.
Just related to this, Neeraj, I want to ask you, I mean, because you work with a lot of products and a lot of lenders as well, in your experience, while building AI agents at RevRack, what's one place where you think that customer journeys break and a lot of product teams don't
Hmm.
realize it until it's late? If you can think of something here.
No, first of all, I must say I'm enjoying this conversation, Pramod, right? We are actually trying to bring the
Likewise.
philosophical aspect of product, right? Especially in digital lending. I'm also kind of a person who enjoys the philosophical aspect of the product, right? So the moment when you started answering, like rather than the design sprint, understanding the
Mhm.
user's mindset, right? That says a lot about you, and no doubt, like why Kisht is so successful, right? So I think people like you are behind it, right? Who are thinking from the first principle and very clearly. So that makes it so great. So yeah, thanks for sharing this aspect, right? So yeah, really enjoying this conversation. So Arushi, I think to answer your question, see like and Pramod very beautifully mentioned, right? It's all about trust, and one word Pramod actually uh, pointed out, unspoken anxiety, right? So uh, so lot of times what happens is in the digital lending journeys, users come. So first of all, obviously, if we are talking about, let's say, a new set of users, right? So they would have seen you somewhere, right? So you had set certain expectations, right, in front of them. So for example, uh, I get a banner somewhere, maybe on social media or somewhere, right?
Hmm.
And any ads or anything, maybe for 3 lakh rupees. Now that banner showing to me get loan up to 3 lakh rupees, and I click it and I download the app and I go through the journey, and maybe after 2 3 steps I am being shown a loan of, let's say, 25,000 rupees, right? Now that's a big gap, right? So I know lender shows lender is basically trying to optimize in order to show the best possible offer a user can get on their platform. But what most of the time is like the expectations, there is a mismatch in the expectations, right? So you can get loan up to 3 lakh rupees versus, let's say, the real requirement of this person was 2 lakh rupees or up to 3 lakh rupees. That's why they clicked on that banner, right? Now you are just showing 25,000 rupees, right? So it's a big uh, gap in the expectations. So what I'm trying to essentially point out here is, apart from the trust, apart from the, let's say, unspoken anxiety, right? Other things are basically setting up the expectations right among the users, right? Be it in terms of the loan amount, be it in terms of the, let's say, tenor, or be it in terms of even the processing fees, right? Now in 7 8 years, right? Or you can say whenever last from 2016 17, whenever when this whole digital lending actually started rising, right? So till now user has learned a lot over these journeys in one way or the other, right? So for example, if somebody is asking, let's say, 7 8 thousand rupees processing fees for a loan of, let's say, 1 lakh rupees, right? They feel disappointed कि, oh my god, matlab, this is too big, right? So that is the gap in the expectations. So I think if you cover from the philosophical aspect, I think uh, expectation, setting the expectations is very important stuff, right? So other things, I think in last 7 8 years, all the lenders have done beautiful job, right? Optimizing one way or the other. The whole ecosystem has done a great job, right? Uh, so what we used to see the drop-offs back in 2017 18, right? Now the kind of efficiency we have, be it because of the AA or be it because of the many efficient KYC processes, it's absolutely seamless.
Yeah.
So
True.
So
Hmm.
Neeraj, you said like setting the clarity at the beginning. But I mean, um, how I see it is, a lot of lenders they don't set the expectations clearly in the beginning because they want a lot of people to, of course, come on
Mhm.
their app and go further. And then when the last step comes, then there's this disclaimer that okay, no, that we just said that this is not what is out there. So I mean, do you think? But if they kind of make things clear, I mean, this just I'm just curious about this one specific thing. If they make it clear from the beginning, um, they won't have a lot of people coming in on their app on their platform for their product. So what do you think about this? I mean, this is something that they have to kind of do.
So I think, see, like my view there is eventually one particular lender will be, first of all, you cannot offer, let's say, lending product to everybody, right? There has to be a
Yeah.
certain ICP where your heart goes in, right? Or you understand that ICP very well, right? So it's okay. So it's not, and the market is really big, right? So it's not that like you have already done with all the market, right? So I think even if a proportion of the market is there, and the magic obviously lies in the repeat rates, right? For example, everybody knows that the profit comes in when the second or the third loan gets kicked in, right? So the importance here is that, like, whether do you want to get these retentions, right? Good retentions or not, right? So I think uh, servicing a very clear ICP makes more sense in my view rather than spray and pray. So obviously you
Hmm.
might get it from the experiment point of view, which is fine, right? But definitely in your whiteboard it should be written what is the ICP of sort, where is the pain the most.
Makes sense. So retention is just one metric, but if you look at the journey, uh, there are many more things than just that. If you want to create it, uh, if you want to create a great experience and not a good experience. Um, Now jumping onto one thing, one section of this conversation that I'm really excited about is um, talking about how to, bring in AI into the journey. So Pramod, yeah, this one's for you. Um, because you own the customer success, customer experience at Kissht. Uh, let's talk about where AI kind of struggles here. Some stages where AI fails or struggles, and what's usually missing. Is it from a tech POV, or is it from a, a deeper org issue or a product issue? What are your thoughts?
It's a quite interesting question. Many a times, what ends up happening is somebody shouts saying, "Let's get AI." So somebody whispers, "Let's AI" into the organization, and they'll patch it
Yeah.
somewhere, and it does not work. And then everyone is like, "Why?" In my experience, AI does not fail because the technology is not capable. I feel it
Yeah.
usually struggles because the experience layer around it hasn't been fully thought through. So one pattern I've noticed is, imagine a team will deploy a very powerful model, lead scoring model, risk evaluator model, but nobody cares to eventually revisit how that decision is going to be communicated to the user. So even if the backend decision is solid, accurate, the UI ends up saying something like, "You do not qualify at this time." No next steps, no explanation.
Mm-hmm.
And the user is left with confusion or even frustration, not because of AI, but because somebody did not close the loop with empathy. On
Uh-huh.
the flip side, imagine a transaction that gets declined with the user, a loan. Maybe you deny a loan to the user, and you end up just communicating that we, at this point in time, could not approve this for you, and here's why. What you can try next is XXS, reapply next number of days, etc. Now, this message softens the blow. It shows the user that the system is still on their side. So I personally wouldn't say that it's a tech problem if AI comes into an organization and it doesn't work. I feel it's more of a collaboration gap between team that brings in the AI, the product team, the design team, and even sometimes the compliance team. And unless someone steps in and says, "I will own and stitch the entire journey together," most importantly, including the user experience and expectations, AI can end up being a smart decision that is delivered stupidly.
Hmm, that line makes absolute sense. When AI is brought in, anywhere, I'm sure there's a lot of misunderstanding with people because they haven't used it before, and a lot of people think that it's a magic pill that that'll do it. And if it doesn't work the way they expect it to work, then they're just like, okay, this is we
Yeah.
don't need it. It's useless. But like you said, there needs to be somebody who will properly implement it into the whole flow. I mean, it makes me think like there needs to be a role called AI tool implementation specialist. Would that be it?
I know.
Probably. So, Pramod, one more thing I want to ask. Like, okay, you said it's not a tech problem, right? So when let's talk about the flip side. When you embed AI into the funnel, um, what should the product actually own? Is it just the logic or something more upstream?
Hmm. When you mean say product, it means the product team, right?
Yes.
Hmm. I think interestingly, even this starts with a mindset. No surprises. Uh, Too often, teams begin with, where can I put AI? That's the question everyone
Mhm.
asks. But actually, the better question here is, what's the actual problem? And is AI even the right way and the best way to solve it? And if you skip this discovery and jump straight into AI, it will become a force fit feature. It will not be a product decision. So here, the product's real job, I feel, in my opinion, is to own the why and the when, not just the how. Why does
Okay.
this specific moment in the user's experience on my platform need intelligence? That could be one question you ask yourself. Uh, what's the desired user behavior? That's another question you would ask yourself. When should the AI stay invisible? When should it be visible that it's working? That's the third question you could ask yourself. Let me give you an example. Say you are noticing drop offs in the bank upload step. This is a typical loan journey where we
Yeah.
want to do an income assessment. The obvious fix could come, let's use OCR, use some pre filling using AI. But discovery and understanding the user might tell you that the real blocker is trust. The users don't know why you need their statement or what will be done with it. In that case, no amount of model accuracy, AI will help you. What we truly need is context based consent designing, which means it need not necessarily be a smarter algorithm here. It could simply be uh, a decision that does not require AI. And that is something that I wanted to highlight here, that the product should, in summary, I feel, own the decision to use AI or not. They should own
Mhm.
the entry and the exit points of the AI in the journey. We, as product teams, own the emotional impact of that intervention on the user's mindset, and eventually, and most importantly, own the fallback to when something misfires. In this case, it's the AI. So it's not about decorating any funnel with intelligence, I believe. It's about designing a flow uh, where I dare say that intelligence earns its place.
Mhm. It's more about the major questions: when, how, where. I mean, to not make it more complex, it's the easier questions that are more important when we are talking about AI implementation, the whole journey, to make it work efficiently. Thanks, Pramod, for giving me the structure to kind of frame my next question, which I've been meaning to ask.
Hmm.
So you spoke about trust, right? A lot of people drop off mid journey, and we are unable to understand what exactly made them drop.
Hmm.
Then we talk about the nuances that to make the journey more wholesome for them. You need to be um, more than just lending. There has to be those smaller questions, smaller nuances.
Hmm.
um, Now I want to ask a question to you, Neeraj, because you at Revrag, you ran a POC for Kissht, and in the POC you embedded conversational AI agents that used voice to kind of identify and understand where these users were dropping and what you could do to kind of retain them. So I just want you to tell us a bit about that, and if you could elaborate on it even better.
No, sure. So I think that like when we implement these embedded agents, right? So if we have to take a step back, right, before implementing, right? So we work with with the Kissht of the worlds, right? To understand, and then Pramod has mentioned very beautifully that like it should start with the problem statement rather than thinking where we can force fit it, right? Because that also gives us the opportunity to think कि whether our existing systems can work efficiently or this AI solution can work better in a better way. There is a fair possibility that like AI might fail you or disappoint you if you place it at the wrong position. They might give you, you know, not so sophisticated, not so impressive results per se, right? So obviously it's not a silver bullet that you put it everywhere. But since uh, the stakeholders or the lenders with whom we have been talking, right, they understand the process completely, right? With each and every experience, or I must say on the screen, they understand, for example, what has been the challenge, right? So either the challenge is being, addressed with the status quo, whatever the solution they have, right? Or mostly it is being addressed by one way or the other, right? If it is a pain for them. Now that is how we have this, a brainstorming session of sorts where we try to understand it, like if this could be, handled in a better way using the AI solutions or not, right? Be it anything, right? Be it our reactive products or proactive products, right? So that is the basic fundamental, right? Now coming to the whole journey, right? So either you can put it in a part of it, right? So for example, in lending, also, let's say before the dispersal, let's say overall there are 8 to 10 screens or steps, for example, right? So either you can put it in a part of it, right? Or you know you can put it in the complete journey, right? Completely depends on you. Or even we are also thinking, it should not only be uh, straightforward app based, it should be customized for the users as well, right? So for example, in the starting pages, let's say these embedded agents started guiding the users, right? And they realize that like, okay, this user is pretty much independent and it can think independent, it can take the actions very efficiently. So why do you want to, you know uh, create a hindrance for that user, right? Let them flow, right? And whenever they feel uh, feel stuck, then these embedded agents should be there to help you. Another way to look at it is, at the very start, if these AI agents understand that like this user seems to be not very much aware or may seem very less tech savvy, for example, right? So these AI embedded agents could be for them at all their steps, right? It may become very, you know very comprehensive for them of sorts, right? So these things we have started thinking, right? How we can, customize these journeys, not from the uh, you know user experience point of view, from the visual aspect, but also from the experiential thing, right? When they are on and based on the user, it can adapt, for example. That is the new thing which we have been thinking, right? Now coming back to you, Arushi, which you asked, right? So obviously, like, it depends on the lender to lender, right? And many of times journeys, most of the time high level at 30,000 feet, if you see, the journeys are pretty much similar, right? Lenders show the offer, right? So before offer, right, let's say some 2 3 steps are there to, let's say, evaluate the offer, then you show the offer, and then in order to, accept that offer, let's say there are some 4 5 steps, the typical, right? So l- having said this, at 30,000 feet, everything seems similar, right? But if you try to understand deeply, each and every lender's journey is very, very highly curated and customized per se, right? They do not look, you know, uh, they are very different per se, right? Because over the time, they have learned from their users and they have curated the journey from start to end, right? So in short, when we basically deploy these agents, right, there is a good probability that like we might find a lot of drop offs, for example, at the when you first show them the offer page, right? Or most of the time, let's say, whenever we try to collect the document. So I think the gaps, which, let's say, Pramod also gave an example, right? It creates a major difference in the mindset of the users, right? When we give the why, they have to give a 6 months bank statement, right? rather than simply asking for the bank statement. Now, this is where AI can also add value, right? So, for example, if some team has missed explaining that why to the user, this is where the AI agent basically fills the gap and say that like, hey, I want bank statement so that I can curate a well-defined loan amount. Maybe the one we are showing is too less for you, right? If you give us the 6 month bank statement, I might offer you more, right? So that completely depends. But I think the main point there is ki, every lender's journey is different, and whatever the gaps are there, the AI has the capability. These embedded agents has the capability to fill those gaps and make it more impressive for the users.
So what you just said, Neeraj, is these AI agents kind of complete the conversations that should have taken place to make the experience amazing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Do you agree with that, Pramod? That's what
Absolutely.
I,
Absolutely.
uh, if I would say in a gist. Makes sense. Thanks, Neeraj, for explaining about the POC. It really makes us understand how these AI agents actually fill in the gap and why so many teams, like a lot of teams, should also implement these
Hmm,
to, again, complete those missing conversations, which can lead to much more, um, which can lead to a better experience for their customers.
hmm, hmm,
Um, Now we spoke a lot about AI, whether it works, where it works, and how it works. But now I want to understand about its implementation in different areas. So, Pramod, if we have to get specific and if we can talk about the unsecured loan journey,
hmm.
in your opinion, where has AI created some measurable impact?
In the lending space, to be honest, machine learning has existed for a while, especially in underwriting,
Yeah.
scoring, fraud risk models, and it has quietly powered a lot of these decisions behind the scenes. What's new, and I believe genuinely valuable, is how now AI is showing up in the journey of what the customer actually feels. It is not behind the scenes anymore. And we have seen, at least with the POC, and we also hypothesize that there will be a measurable lift when AI is used as a guide, not just to decide, uh, but especially in certain moments to give a lot more clarity and reassurance to the user. For example, when the user doesn't understand, as Neeraj said, why the document is needed, when a
Mhm.
repayment feels slightly complex and I have a few questions around it, or in cases where KYC fails or there is an error and somebody just doesn't know what went wrong. Typically, any kind of a borrowing activity being a very highly sensitive journey, the user wants to feel a degree of confidence, reassurance, and smartness. With AI tangibly presenting itself as a guide, they can be used as a point of reassurance and validation that you are all three as a user. So in our work now, specifically with RevRack, what excited us, for instance, was the embedded agent. So we went right at it and said, why not have that agent on the offer screen? Offer screen is a critical screen. That's where we tell the user that this is what you're going to get possibly. And this was not to upsell. The primary intention was to explain why this loan amount. What does that this particular EMI really mean in your context? Is it flexible? Is it final? What are your questions? Do you want to understand about the interest rates? Do you have queries about the processing fees? Do you want to know how the repayment schedule will play out? There are many questions where the user doesn't feel like a subject matter expert. But when an embedded agent, through different channels of communication, be it voice, text, explains every single query to the user in detail, it feels like a consultant sitting right with me, explaining me what's the best I can do from what's available. And in this case, the AI is not very loud, it is just present. And we see that the users who engaged with this AI or this AI solution were significantly more likely to continue with confidence and do certain more complex steps in the application further. Similarly, there is a very strong case even for a KYC, where the agent can offer real time help even in regional languages, because we see users across India, especially during video verification. Uh, so users didn't really ask for this. They just didn't know that there could be a consultant sitting right on their screen, guiding them step by step, answering every apprehension that they have, every small question that they have, and guiding them seamlessly to the next step. And what this does is they don't feel alone at the end of the day. So AI does not wow them, it just makes the process feel safer, smarter, and quite paradoxically more human. Uh, and that's what the real value is, I believe. Not in the automation for the sake of it, but in the orchestration where, and I'll go back to it, orchestration that earns the trust of the user.
So it all boils down to those human elements, right? What you said, right? It's not some magic or it's not some uh, crazy thing. It's about the placement of AI and how it empowers the customers.
Yeah,
Because I'm sure a lot of time there are a lot of jargons in the journey which the user might not understand, and if they think it's too complex, let it be. But the right placement of AI agents would make them feel more confident in their own
yeah.
decisions. And I think if any lender is able to uh, make those customers feel this way, it's a success for them already. Dheeraj, I have one question which is kind of a follow up of this for you. Um, in like because you have been implementing these AI agents for different companies, have you noticed any unexpected moment in the journey recently where AI made a surprising difference? I mean, something which you earlier, I'm sure like it keeps changing, right? The more you work with AI agents, the more you understand the more you understand about the capabilities of voice AI agents. But anything in the recent time that you saw which was unexpected?
So I think the real fun working with this tech is that it surprises you, right? Both ways, positive and the negatives, right? So obviously when we start with the solutions or putting it there on the journeys, we have certain hypotheses, right? That's why so we are betting on it, right? So that like
Yeah.
if we put this, we expect to increase x to y, for example. Or even if we do not express it quantitatively, we express it in terms of qualitatively कि हाँ ये better तो हो ही सकता है, right? So we go with one expectation, right? And everybody aligns, for example. And let's say fast forward to POC, or like when we churn thousands of users, right? So most of the time it happens that like maybe the hypothesis which assume, right, is not something working, for example. But most of the time what happens is it gives us a lot of hints where it works, right? So for example, in one of the business B2B lenders, right, our normal hypothesis was that like okay, let's say it will increase the efficiency and the typical stuff, right, for example. But surprisingly, uh, anomaly happened, right, for the cohort uh, for which we ran it. The tat reduced to about 1 by third, right? So that was unexpected thing, right? So now when we wanted to understand why the tat reduced, right, we came to know that like a certain process actually was taken care by the AI, right, due to which the customer's expectations was very much aligned, and they didn't have any confusion of sorts, and they were giving their documents in a timely manner, or basically much before their expectations, right? So that is how it came to the picture that like okay, this can also happen, and then we double down on that, right? So like this many times it happens that like it all, and when you churn the data, when you try to understand, and when you go through the activities which it is doing, be it from the conversation point of view or be it from the activity point of view, right? And when you try to understand from the metadata perspective as well, right, and you try to correlate with the business use case, you obviously get lot of ideas that like maybe if it is able to handle this, I can start, I should, it should also be able to understand this thing and should be able to handle this as well. So I think it's a it's all about the cold start problem, right? So once you start it and the ball starts rolling, right, so I think it gives a good, you know, a good flavor to everybody that like okay, it can work, right? And obviously like once you get mini success of sort, right, it gives you a good confidence as well, that like okay, let me increase the volume, let me put it in these four more cases, right? So we have seen with couple of lenders in past 3 4 months, right, where we have seen exactly this phenomena. That is why it keeps us more excited, right? That is, we are very much positive about this whole thing.
Makes absolute sense. It's it gives you a lot of good surprises and bad surprises as
Yes.
well.
Uh,
Uh, now, uh,
Yeah, Pramod, you say.
I
Pramod,
wouldn't say. I remember that dialogue from Forrest Gump, right? It's like a
uh,
box of chocolates.
yeah.
life is like a box of
Yes,
chocolates. You never
it's
know
a
which
box
one
of,
you're gonna get.
and interestingly, it's a chocolate at the end of the day. So you're okay. Either you're learning or you're doing great.
Definitely.
I think that's how the journey is, right? Like it's a mix of all the different elements and how you make of it.
Yeah.
So, um, just because we are approaching towards the end of this episode, um, so I'm sure a lot of PMs would also be watching us, and they would also want some, some understandings. So, Pramod, because I mean, we spoke a lot about right embedding AI agents into the journey, but you as a product lead, how did you build it into the core experience? Because a lot of teams bolt on AI, and once you implemented it, how did the metrics look for you? How were they different after the implementation of AI, and what would count as a win for you? So all of these questions into one. How did you implement it? And what metrics did you see after the implementation? And what worked as a win for you?
I'll try to be super quick. Then, you know,
You can take your time.
how do you build it
No
in the
worries.
core experience? I think a few questions we ask ourselves. Uh, you've done the user mind mapping, mindset, etc. Go into the
Yeah.
design stage. You deep down and you ask yourself, where did the user pause or hesitate? And this is all about simulation. One of the strongest traits of product managers is to just close your eyes and simulate the user experience. You simulate, you realize where could the user possibly pause, hesitate, what could be those common unspoken questions at that moment. Can any AI guide or clarify without needing a new screen or a channel of communication? What would it look like? Would this work silently in the background or would it be on your face? And if the AI fails, goes silent, does the journey still continue gracefully? A few questions I'd quickly ask myself. And that's where I'll figure out whether AI really belongs to this flow. Uh, and then we will apply this during the build by, say, embedding an agent on the decision surfaces. Exactly. In our case, it was the offer screen, not on pop-ups or sidebars. We would using the user behavior, we would see some activation triggers and not just clicks. We will train the system on real user data, so to help uh, the experience feel more grounded when we leverage AI. And more importantly, we would try to treat AI as a collaborator for the product team. It's not a feature. I have always endorsed this in my mind also, and to everyone I speak to, that AI is not a feature, it is a tool. It's like a collaborator for you. See if you can infuse that collaboration in solving some problems that you solve as a product person. So it's not always about adding intelligence, it's about asking, why does the user need a little more help, clarity, comfort, control? Can AI go in silently, quietly, or it cease to become anything cosmetic? Then it rather becomes something very core. That's how I typically try to build AI into the core experience layer. Now, mm, the second question you asked was, how do we measure?
Uh, how do you look at the metrics once AI is implemented? Like, how are they different before and after, if they are?
Uh, I think for me, the core metrics would still remain the same. AI, as I said, is a collaborator to drive an outcome. So the metrics
Yeah.
I would track is outcome at the end of the day. And I wouldn't look at anything differently. If I could give a more nuanced answer right now, but it would only be confusing for anybody who listens to this. It is the same thing. It's about a product manager having many tools, AI being one of the tools for collaboration with the user, and you just use this tool to get a better outcome. A leading measure towards the outcome could be how well engaged the user is with the AI. You could go deeper and say, I want to run some evals on the AI and its output and see if I can make the AI experience better. But that's very nuanced. That's about even improving the experience, the AI experience for the user. But on the surface, I would still continue to measure the same metrics and I'm not confused.
Right. So, in simple words, just to summarize what you just said, the metrics would not change, they would remain the same. And as for implementing AI into the journeys, you would start with the very first principle questions, not just, directly deploying it and taking it as a magic tool.
Mm,
Of course, it's a tool which makes things more efficient, but you have to ask yourself the fundamental questions first, whether it is needed, how will it help you, where all you can implement it.
mm,
So it's all in the simplicity,
mm.
um if I were to understand it.
Yeah.
So Pramod, like we are almost towards the end of the episode. I just want to ask you one thing. If you had to give, it's like the typical ending question. If you had to give one tip or suggestion to PMs implementing AI into their core workflows, just one tip, what would be? I know we've spoken about the whole experience in depth, but just as a closing comment, what would you say it to be?
I'm going to start sharing how I'm thinking of this answer now. I'm thinking of AI as a relationship, something that I want to build with somebody, customer being, we spoke about human elements in the conversation, interaction of the customer with the AI. So this, if I had to just summarize this in one sentence, this is how it could go. It could go like build AI like you build trust. You show up at the right time, say the right thing, and you know when to stay silent.
Just wow, like very crisp and very precise. The perfect way to end the episode for us. Um, so, we have almost spoken about all of the points in the whole journey. Thanks a lot, Pramod, for giving us all of those insights. I truly had a great time speaking to you, and the way you broke down certain concepts was just phenomenal. Thanks a lot, Neeraj, for joining us and explaining what's going on at RevRag and how you're always learning and unlearning certain things about implementing these AI agents into the digital onboarding flow.
Hmm.
To everybody who had come today to watch the episode, thanks a lot. Thank you. It's great that we have people who come to understand things and get insights from these episodes. We will come back next week with another episode. Until then, thanks a lot for coming. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Pramod. Thanks, Neeraj.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Goodbye.